Hi folks, I'm Nathan with Two Guys in a Ride, and welcome to our car tech how-to video on the newly refreshed 2024 Buick Envision, and this is the Sport Touring or ST trim level. Today, I'll be covering the driver's information and infotainment screens. I'll do a general overview, show you how to access information, and do a deep dive. Let's get started.
Today, we're working with our friends at Snell Motors in beautiful Mankato, Minnesota.
This is a beautiful total of 30-inch all-digital screen. So you do have a separate driver screen and an infotainment screen, but what's really cool is the pictures actually all run together. So it is truly a 30-inch screen. You could say it's a 15-inch driver and a 15-inch infotainment. That would be about half and half, but honestly, it's a whole screen. There's no break like we see sometimes in the middle of a infotainment screen and a digital dash. So this is a really neat screen. There's a few things that you can configure in here, so I'm going to show you how to do that. First, I'm going to point out that over on the far left, you have a power button for a HUD. This has a very nice HUD or heads-up display that throws information up onto the windshield for you. So you can turn on or off the HUD right here. And then you can press this to adjust. So you can rotate it to the right, you can rotate it to the left, and then you notice you got these three dots. Slide over, you can adjust the height, and slide over again, and you can adjust the brightness. Okay, so that is on the far left and is always there. Now that is the only part of the screen here that's touchable besides the infotainment screen. Okay, so now you're going to notice that just to the right of the HUD, we get the time, the temperature, and the date. Now this area can change, but you need to do it from the infotainment screen. And basically, what you're going to do is on your infotainment screen, you're going to go to the home button. You're going to press vehicle status. And then you can go to, say, gauges, and you have a bunch of gauges that show up, and you can press any one of them, and then it'll come up and say add to driver display, and there you go. Okay, you can also click remove from driver's display, and you have got a bunch of these that you can throw up there, but they all show up in the same area. Okay, now in addition to the gauges, you do have trip information. Okay, if you want your trip meter to show in there, you can do that. Okay, you also have, in addition to trip information, you have air quality information that you can throw. And this is all in the same screen. Again, under the home button, under vehicle status, and then you get 4 things that you can list. So there are a number of things that you can throw in that part of the screen. Now, the next part of the screen to the right is your speedometer. This doesn't change. It's going to stay the same. Can't manipulate it. But you got your speedometer. You've got your adaptive cruise control. You've got your speed limit sign reading above that. You got your lane centering. And then, of course, the little steering wheel there to indicate that it's going to help keep you inside the lanes. Now down below, you do have an RPM gauge right here. I do wish that we could change that one, but that's there. You got a gas gauge down below that. Of course, you got the little arrow telling you your fuel tank's on the right. You got your 77 miles till empty. You got your media right here. And then, of course, you got your gear selector, and you notice it says M. Well, on the left side of the steering wheel, you have a button that says M, and if you click it, okay, I'm not in drive, but if I were, and I pressed M, now as I use the shift paddles, I can change gears. It's not going to do it because I'm not going right now, okay? But that's what that M is for. So then up above, you've got your media. So if I go to the steering wheel and I press the media button, the little musical note, and then I use these up and down arrows, I can select my sources, okay? And of course, you're gonna, because this has Google built in, you're gonna get a lot of Google stuff. So you get Alexa, you're gonna have access to Google Podcasts, news, you can hook a USB, Sirius XM, AM, FM, and of course, this does have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, which I'll show you when we get to the infotainment screen. Now, all you got to do is when you get to the area that you want to go to, you just press this button. The check mark's here, but this is actually the button. Okay, and there you go. Now, on the back of the steering wheel, on the right-hand side, right below the shift paddle, it's a little tricky. You got to kind of feel with your fingers, but you've actually got a volume knob that you can control the volume. Then over on the left side of the steering wheel, below the shifter, again, paddle shifter, you can change between your favorites, or you can switch this button to a seek, where it just goes to the very next station. Okay, now of course it'll tell you who's buckled up, and then up here, this is kind of the division area between the infotainment and the driver screen. So this will just tell you in your infotainment screen if you have any notifications. And this, of course, is your driver's profile. And then this is your 4G LTE Wi-Fi signal indicator. Okay, in addition to what I've just showed you, there are 3 screens you can go through. So if I press the double square button with the arrow down here, I go to this completely awesome view with a map, which I think is just, oh man, it's so beautiful. It takes up almost the entire screen, again, except for the HUD, and then you do have a compass setting right here. Okay, and of course you get your basic information right here. Still have your RPM, still have your fuel, your miles to empty, and that kind of stuff. Now, so you say, well, what if I wanted media? Okay, well, if you press media, it pops up, and then if you press the favorites button on the left side of the steering wheel, it's going to change, but you're just not going to see it. It would change in the infotainment screen. You would see it there, but it's still going through. You don't see it. Okay, I'm going to click it once more. Okay, now you got sort of your driver safety systems. You've got your adaptive cruise display. You have got the gap setter. Okay, so you can adjust the gaps. That's on the left side of the steering wheel. Okay, and then of course you can turn your cruise control off. Now, this car has fully adaptive cruise control. But if you want to just use normal cruise control, you don't want adaptive, turn the cruise control on. So you want to see that little steering wheel right up here. Then press and hold the cancel cruise button. And there you go. Now you're in regular cruise, and it gives you a message on the screen. Press and hold that cancel button again, and you're back to adaptive cruise. One more screen here, back to this one. The thing you need to understand about this particular screen is that it's only going to display in this particular screen. If I switch to maps, it's gone. And if I switch to driver safety systems, it's gone. This is the only screen where you can add these things on the left. Okay, let me just talk through some of the buttons on the steering wheel. On the left-hand side, of course, you've got cruise on, cancel cruise, then you get resume and set on the far right, and at the bottom you've got your gap setter button, and then you have the M button that you can do manual shifting with. And you press it once to engage manual shifting and use the paddle shifters. You press it one more time to go back to automatic. Your voice command button, okay, it's not the actual picture, it's the silver bar next to it, but you can push that, and you have a lot of voice commands. You can set your temperature, you can just ask questions about the weather. It's pretty cool, and I'll show you that when we get to the infotainment screen. Over on the far left, you got a parking brake button. You can change the drive modes, and you get tour, all-wheel drive, sport, and off-road. Now, nothing on the dash changes when you do this. You don't get any color changes or anything, but that's what the mode button is. Your lane centering button is also right next to that, and then your auto start stop defeat. So if you don't like the auto start stop, that's the button you're going to push. And then you have a rotary button next to that that allows you to change the brightness and dimness of the screen. Now, up here on the left side of the steering wheel, you've got your turn signals, of course, but then you have your wipers. The inner one is your rear windshield wiper, and then the front one, the one closest to the end of the stock, is your front windshield wipers. And then your spray is at the end of the nozzle. And your gear selector on the right, you gotta, in order to get to drive, you'll see the arrows, but you gotta pull it and push it down. To get to reverse, you pull it and push it up. Park is just the silver button, you just push it at the end. And neutral is just a quick pull forward. Now, over on the right-hand side of the steering wheel, in addition to the two buttons I've been using, I showed you the media button, you do have a phone hang-up button, you have a phone answer button, and then you've got a heated steering wheel button. That's it for the driver's screen. Next, we're going to move over to the infotainment screen. All right, so this is the beautiful infotainment screen, and man, is it ever nice. So basically, your infotainment screen starts here and goes all the way here. So you do have a very, very large screen. And you can see there's no break between the driver's information screen and the infotainment screen, which I really like. All right, so this does have a 9-speaker Bose sound system. It is Google built in. It has AM, FM. It has Sirius XM 360. It's got built-in navigation, of course, with Google Maps, Bluetooth, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. You can do a USB. You've got podcasts. You've got Alexa. I mean, there's just a plethora of options. So let's get to this awesome infotainment screen. Now, I did tell you when we did the infotainment screen that there are no physical headlamp controls. There's no button on the left. There's none of the other buttons on the screen where you can twist or turn. This is your headlight button, and it's always there. So if I click it, you can have it's on, parking lamps, auto, or off. Okay. So I think the intention, you can most of the time just leave it on auto, but that is where that control is, okay? And while I'm talking about lights, your hazard button is just below the infotainment screen right here. Okay, this is the split screen mode, and that's this button right here, okay? So as far as I've been able to try, I cannot customize this window, okay? I can customize this one. But this one seems to be set in place. You can start navigation, you can control your phone, and you can look at, this is like voice command. Okay, now you notice there's 3 dashes. So if I press this arrow, I can also get tire pressure, and then I can get media. So those things are kind of preset. What I can do over here, if I click the pencils, I can change it to trip information. I can change it to audio or back to maps. Okay, so that's how this split screen is going to work. All right, let me go back for a minute to the home button, and here you're going to see the traditional apps that you're kind of used to seeing. Now there's a couple grayed out, and we'll get to those in a minute. You have 2 dashes, so that means you've got a few more right over here. Now, any of these apps can be moved around the screen, or they can be moved to the side over here. You cannot put them down here. Okay, these ones are set. Okay, so let's talk about this one right here, which is the same as this one. Okay, camera, traction control, auto high beams, park assist, and hill descent control. It's giving you quick access to a couple of things that you may want to get at without having to go through a bunch of menus. You can see more controls, and then you've got lights, which, pretty much is the same thing that we had down here. And then you can do drive and park, which gives you all the stuff that we kind of saw earlier with the addition of blind zone. Okay, the speed limiter this is going to actually limit your top speed. Okay, so if I turn it to manual or auto right there, it's actually going to use if your cruise is set and it reads the road traffic sign, say you go from a 55 to a 45, it's automatically going to adjust your cruise control to that speed, which I think is great. I have a car that reads road traffic signs. It tells me what the speed limit is. but it has nothing to do with the cruise control. This, if you turn on auto, will say, oh, it's we went from 45 to back up to 55. We're going to increase the cruise. You can set the top speed with your cruise control. So let's say you say, well, I'm going to be on the highway doing 65. You can use the increase button once you set your cruise to 65, and then it will just read all the roll signs. And if it's 65, it'll take you 65. If it's 25, it'll take it 25. So that's really cool right there. I like that additional thing. Okay, that's those two controls. Now, over here, you've got climate buttons. And down below, you actually have some physical buttons. You got rear defrost, max defrost for the front, passenger temperature control, driver temperature control, and it's a push up, push down. You can see the numbers changing right here. You can change the fan speed. That you don't see, but you can feel it. And then you have the auto button and on off. Now up here, if I, for instance, click here, it brings up another sign. So it's not the actual button, but if I do this, now I can click here and I can get my 3-stage heated seat right there. And I can do the same for the passenger. What I do like is that, let's say you're on 3, and you don't want to push it 3 times. You can just click off and it all goes off. Okay, temperature you can do here. You get a sync button here so that both temperatures will sync. And then right here, you get where the airflow is going, okay? And then this is just a recirculatory button, so it doesn't show you anything. So that's the climate. All right. Now, I told you that these can go over here. And since you already have this one here and here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go take the camera button just to show you. Click and hold it. Drag it on top of the icon you want to replace, and there you go. And that's the camera. We'll get back to that in a minute. All right, so before we dive into some of these things, I want to go over the media. So let's go to media right here. First of all, to make a favorite, just go to the channel that you want and click and hold. And there you go. Can you overwrite something? Yes. Okay. Now, I've got 3 The Highways, so don't want that. If I press the gear wheel right here and go to Manage Radio Favorites, I'm going to go delete, delete. And now I've got this one. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have Sirius XM Hits 1, Classical Vinyl, and then hold to set, and this one. I don't want that. So I'm going to grab this, and I'm just going to slide it up. And now all 3 will be in a row. We'll go back here. And there you go. They're all in a row. Otherwise, the highway would have been down here with these open in the middle. But it's really nice that Buick allows you to easily manage and delete favorites. We don't see that all the time in a car. All right, the other thing that we want to talk about is how to tune. So, a couple of ways. First of all, you can use the buttons behind the left side of the steering wheel to go through your favorites. Okay, that's all it does right now. Okay, you can go by channel here, and then they give you this beautiful screen just to go through. When you find something you like, you click on it, and there you go. Okay, so that's one way. If I go here, I can go by categories. Okay, and I can also look on demand to see what's there. Okay. I can go here and I can browse through from this side as well. Sound. How do you adjust sound? Well, you go over here, you press on sound. This is your equalizer, and I wish they'd let you drag that, but you do have to use the buttons. Okay, so you can adjust your bass, mid-range, and treble. You can adjust your fade balance. This one you can click and drag. And what I like is, let's say I go down here. All of these screens have a reset button. You notice it was up there. So you can reset it back to 0. Now, sound mode, normal, okay? You can have it just so I kind of focus on the driver, or if you're talking in the front, you can just have the music focus on the rear. All right, I want to show you that AM, FM, and Sirius XM all pretty much look the same. So if I click up here, I go back to my sources. So I'm going to go to FM, And this has the same look. The only difference is right here, I tune by stations, and I can punch in a number. Okay, I want to show you that, you know, you get the sound settings, everything's in the same spot. You do get a few additional options. You can have radio text sent to your radio, and that just tells you the name of the song and the station that you're on. You can have radio text categories if you want, and that's the end of it. Okay, I'm going to show you real quick that AM looks the same and will work the same way. So they've purposely, you know, redesigned these to make them all the same interface, which I really like on all modern cars. Okay, so let's go from media to the Google Maps. Oh, this is lovely. Now, not only that, but remember, on the driver's screen, you can flip over and have that beautiful map right on your screen. So just, it's awesome. Okay, so how do you program a route and how do you cancel a route? Well, you can go in here and you can actually click here and you can actually type, which is just, frankly, not real safe unless you're parked, right? So the easiest way to do this is to use the voice command button on the left side of the steering wheel, and you just speak naturally. So find the closest Dairy Queen.
All right, there's a Dairy Queen West, Treat and Cakes, 1.5 miles away. Want to navigate there?
Yes.
All right, Dairy Queen West, Treat and Cakes, 1.5 miles away.
Now, what I like is you've got a little X here that will cancel the route. Now, you can just press the voice command button and tell the assistant to cancel it if you want, but you can also just physically hit that button and it will cancel. It takes a minute here with our reception, but it will cancel. Now, in addition to being able to do that, you have this gear setting here. So if I go here, you can say, do I want traffic on? The guidance audio, do I want to hear everything the navigation assistant says, alerts only, or mute completely? Now you notice when it first came on, it was really loud, and I use the volume buttons on the back of the left side of the steering wheel to adjust it. So you don't have to go into settings, you don't have to go anything. Simply when the assistant to navigation is talking, raise or lower the volume, and you can use this rotary knob in the center console as well. Okay, route options here. You can avoid highways, avoid tolls, avoid ferries. If you check mark those things, it's going to avoid them when you program a route. You can have offline maps if you want, and then you got about help. All right, I'm gonna go back here. You'll notice that this map is at a certain configuration. So if I click this is where you can change that perspective. Okay, I happen to really like it when it's like this. That makes the most sense to me, but you can have a north up or you can have an overview. So this is just a quick way. You want to look for someplace to eat, there you go. But you can always just use, again, that Google Assistant. Is there a Perkins in Mankato? Okay, and I just press that, and now I'm going to Perkins. So you can be really specific with it, and it's just natural voice. So that's the basics of navigation. You can, of course, pinch and zoom. I don't know that, yep, you sure can. You can rotate it with your hands. I don't know that I would ever use that feature, but it's there. Okay, and then you get a recenter button in case you mess it up like I did. All right, this is a quick mute button if you need the navigation voice to go off. And this is just a voice command button right there. All right, we're gonna skip over the phone for a minute and we will come back to that. So I wanna go back up here to home, and let's take a look at this vehicle status. Okay, this is where I went when I did the driver's screen to throw things over into the left side of the driver's screen. So any one of these pictures, you just click it and say add to driver display, continue. And then it's gonna show up in your driver's display. Okay, and then you can just X out of that if you want, okay? Now, to get it out of there, you're gonna go back to that same one, hit remove, and then it goes out. So you have engine, air filter life, oil life, and then tire pressure. Those are your choices. Or you can just see them up here in the screen. Because remember, you can have the navigation in the driver's screen, so you may just want to do that. That's maintenance. If I look at gauges, I can have transmission fluid temperature, coolant temperature, battery voltage, oil pressure, or oil temperature, and any one of them I can throw over to that left side of the driver's screen if I want, or I can just leave it at this screen. Okay, same thing with trip. I can throw any one of these three up into the driver's information screen if I want, and that's also where you reset trip 1 and trip 2. Okay, and there we go. All right, fuel economy, you can reset it right here, change the distance if you want, and then this one just add to driver display. Okay, you can also look at air quality and an air quality index if you want, and you can add that to the driver's display again or remove. Okay, so that is how this is the place where you go to add stuff to the driver's screen, or just have it look here. Now you notice there's some plus signs on the car. So if I click, it'll tell me what my battery voltage is. If I go here, it tells me what that tire pressure is. Tell me what this tire pressure is. Tell me, you know what I mean? So in a one quick glance, you're gonna get battery voltage, and then engine air filter life, and oil life. So pretty much all the things we saw through here, but you can just click on that. Okay, so let's go back to home. That's vehicle status. Now this is just your Google Assistant. You click it, it comes on. But you can just use that voice command button on the left side of the steering wheel. This is the Google Play Store. Now the way it's set up, I'm not going to sign in. If you signed into it, you're going to find apps that will work on your system. You can download them directly so they can be an app on your screen. Say for instance, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, that kind of stuff. You can just then get an icon right on your screen, and you don't have to use your phone for it. All right, now let's get to the camera for a minute. Now the camera is really good, the quality is good, but man, oh man, do I wish they had really expanded that screen. So again, good quality picture, love the 360, just wish they would have used, you know, much more of the screen than they did. Okay, this is the standard view right now, and this is my front camera, which I love because it's got the 360 system. Okay, I can just do an overhead, and I can look by the side. Okay, now I can't look at the rear camera right now. I'm not in reverse, so you're not seeing any guidelines. And again, I can do the overhead plus reverse and the overhead plus the side view. If I go to settings, I can turn the top-down part off, and I do get a little bigger picture. Okay, it's still not for the real estate that we have. It's just a smaller picture, but high-quality camera. I think we maybe have to have this in reverse. Yep, and there we go. So here we can actually turn the guidelines off while in reverse. I like those. They are dynamic swivel. And just so you know, these red lines mean you're about an inch off your bumper. And then each of these orange marks is a different measurement. You have to look in your owner's manual to find out exactly what they are, but you see it in this screen too. But it actually gives you a distance, a physical distance of how far you are away. All right, again, if you turn the top-down view off, you do get a little larger backup camera, okay? All right, let's put it back into park. All right, that's the camera. Of course, you have Amazon Alexa. You're going to have to sign into it. Ambient lighting. This does have really nice ambient lighting in here. This is where you're going to change the overall color. And you can just get different hues on your palette down here. Okay? You can also turn off ambient lighting right there. You can customize the brightness of it. This one you can click and drag or use the buttons. You can also use turn everything on or off. Okay, climate. Here you get a little bigger screen than what we got from pushing any button down here. So Here you kind of see it all at once. Fan speed, passenger temp, driver temp, where the air is blowing, and then your controls right here. If I go to settings, then I can set the auto fan speed. I can set the air quality sensor. I can have heated seats on startup, auto defog on, and rear defog on. Okay, and if I go into some of these, let's say I go into this one, now you get a choice. Okay, so if I want the auto fan speed to be higher, I can just click it. If I want it lower, I can click that. And every time I turn on auto down here, this is what I'm going to get. All right, heated seats on startup. If I click it again, it's just on or off. Now, this doesn't mean that it's going to heat the seats no matter what. It senses the outside ambient temperature, and then it decides if it needs the heated seats. All right, so let's go back. And let's go back to the home button. We've already been to audio. We've already been to maps. Let's go over here. We've seen controls because that's the same as what's down here. I will click on one here. This just turns traction control on or off. Auto high beams on or off. So if they're black, they're on. Park assist, now that's off, and so is the rear auto brake. Now that's on. Hill descent control, okay? So what that's going to do is limit the speed of your car going down a hill. And it helps you not to have to use the brake so much. Okay, let's go back here. So let's go back one thing. Let's go to settings. All right, so here is a list of the things that you can adjust in the car, and there's so many. And we won't have time to go through all of them, but they will all work similar to what I'm showing you. So, for instance, if I click on vehicle, I can go straight to audio settings from there. We've already seen that. Show drive mode selection. If I click that, that was not clicked on earlier. So now when I go, I'm getting this cool graphic on my screen, and it will disappear after a while. Okay, but it's cool that it gives you the graphic, and earlier that was not turned on, so that's kind of cool. Rear seat reminder, that just tells you to check the back seat when you shut the car off. Buckle to drive. You can turn that feature off. Remember I said if you have it on and you're not buckled, it won't go into drive or reverse. Okay, if you leave that off, then you can drive with your seatbelt off in appropriate circumstances, like you're backing up. Okay, so next let's look at collision detection systems, because man, oh man, are there a lot. Now, you see that some of these have a green button and some of them don't. So the green button ones usually are simpler ones, like I just want it off. Okay, however, even on any of these green ones, if you click on the actual title, it's going to give you a description of what exactly it's doing. Okay, now these ones that don't have a green button, if you click on them, you've got some settings you can make. Like you can turn intersection collision braking off, alert only, or alert and brake. Okay, I suggest you leave it there. Front pedestrian braking, you see, these are all going to be the same. You have some basic settings that you can make if there isn't a green button. Okay, so, and then they give you that nice little description on the side. Okay, let's take a look at comfort and convenience. So, the car chimes at you. If you want to lower that volume, you can do that. Okay, you've got hands-free opening of the rear tailgate. So you can kick underneath it, and in a certain spot, your foot will go by a sensor that will then open the trunk for you. But you can say open, close, open only, or just turn that whole feature off completely. It's always a little trick getting the right spot to put your foot. Reverse tilt mirror. So when you put it in reverse, do you want the driver and passenger mirrors to tilt down? Just the drivers, just the passengers, or off completely? Okay. And then auto wipe when in reverse gear. Okay. So that is just way cool. Again, we won't have time to go through all these, but I'm gonna do one more, and so I'm gonna do seating position. All right, seat entry memory and seat exit memory. If this is turned on, then you set your seat. It's got 2-person programmable settings. So if you turn this on and then you set your seat, when you turn the car off, Easy Exit will slide your seat all the way back, and then makes it easier for you to get out. When you get back in, start up the car, it's going to recognize you, and it's going to pull the seat back right to the position you had. Okay, and these all work again the same way. So you click on them, got to read it, make some decisions, but that's where you can make all those settings for vehicle. Now, date and time, you can just click on the clock and it takes you right here. But this is where you're going to set your time, okay? And then on the display, you can, for the mode, what that does is it keeps the brightness of the screen adjusted automatically. So at nighttime, it's going to be a darker screen, and during the daytime, it's going to be a brighter screen. Or you can say, nope, I always want it super bright, or nope, I always want it super dark. Okay. You can also go to instrument cluster and you say, I want turn-by-turn graphics on, traffic sign recognition on or off. Just clicking it turns it off, clicking again turns it on. You can turn off the display if you want, but I'm going to show you a much easier way to do that, and I just double tap to get it on. Let's say you're driving at night and the screen is bothering you. You have a rotary knob in the center console that rotates as a volume. If you push it quickly once and let it go, it's a mute. But if you push and hold it, it shuts things off. Gives you a much more blank screen, maybe not so much distraction. Just simply press it again once and it brings everything back. Under sounds, this is not radio sounds, this is maximum volume at vehicle startup. I don't know about you, but I don't like starting the car and having the radio already playing. I usually like it quiet, and then I'll adjust it if I need it. That's where you do that. So now when I start up the car, the radio will be on, but I won't hear it. And I can physically turn up the volume. If you like that, well, you can leave that feature up. Okay, audible touch feedback. You hear all that little pop, 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 pop when I touch the screen? That's where you turn that off. All right, let's go to the assistant and voice. So digital assistant app, you can have none or you can have Google Assistant there. Okay, if I press the gear wheel, then I can turn off this phrase. So right now I can say, hey Google, and nothing happens. But if I leave that on, instead of having to press the button on the steering wheel, I just say, hey Google, navigate to Dairy Queen.
Okay, there's a Dairy Queen West, Treat and Cakes, 1.5 miles away.
Let's go back here. Under system, this is where you can change your language. This is where you can do keyboard and speech here. Units, US or metric right there. And then reset options in case something goes wrong, okay? And you can try to restart things and get them back in a safe way. Okay, so last thing set to do here is to hook a phone to the car, and we're going to do it for Apple CarPlay. What I've done is just hook my phone via USB. However, when you do it wirelessly, you're going to want to click Enable right here, and then you're going to get a phone message on your phone saying, do you want this to play, and enable wireless Apple CarPlay, and bingo, here we go. All right. So this is how it looks. Now the way Apple CarPlay works is you can get this main screen right here. It is interesting that this is all Apple CarPlay screen, but the actual map screen is only this big. So that is interesting that it doesn't take up that full area, but it's still a nice size. Okay, so basically Apple CarPlay, you're going to have navigation and media apps. So your messages, you can go to Apple Maps right here. It's going to be the same size. Still a nice size screen here. You have, let's say, gosh, we've got Google Maps, we got Waze, we got Pandora right here. I have Sirius XM on my phone, so there you go. These are your most recently used icons. And then if I press this once and press it again, of course, I get a split screen. Now, the only difference with Android Auto is that when you're in this app view, you scroll up and down instead of left to right. Well, that is it on this beautiful 30-inch display on the 2024 Buick Envision. And again, this is the SD trim level. We hope it's been helpful. Thanks for watching.